So it's time for me to give you my favorite episodes of Charmed Season 6. Again, a little disclaimer, any two-part episodes will be counted as one, so let's get into it. The first episode we have is Forget Me Not. In this episode, Baby Wyatt summons a dragon from the TV, and the dragon causes chaos in the real world. So these magical beings called the Cleaners come to clean up Wyatt and the mess that he's made. And the girls don't know this happened because their memories were wiped of Wyatt, and they had to figure out how to remember him and get him back. I really like this episode. It's one of my favorites because we get to see how Wyatt's powers are, and it was really fun to watch this one. The next episode on my list is The Power of Three Blondes. In this episode, we have three evil blonde witches trying to steal the Charmed One's identities and powers. In this episode, there's this really funny scene where Jenny McCarthy and I don't know what the other actress's name is, but they're like fighting over who gets Chris. And it's funny because we eventually find out that Chris is related to the Charmed Ones. So yeah, but I really like this episode. It's really hilarious. I love the dynamic between these three girls playing sisters because they really do give off sister vibes, and really great episode overall. The next episode we have is My Three Witches. In this episode, Chris wants to distract the sisters, so he goes to a demon for help to send them each to like their own little reality where their desires are coming true, and each sister has a different desire. Paige desires for where magic, she can be open with her magic and stuff, and she just happens to be in this old folks home helping this old guy with some magic tricks, so it's really fun to watch this. Piper desires to have a normal life, but it backfires when Wyatt gets sick and she needs magical help. And Phoebe's isn't really hers, it's Jason's, because he desires for her to be famous and have like a talk show and stuff like that. So it's really fun to see how each girl has different things that they want, and then how Phoebe's kind of backfires because it's not really hers, it's Jason's, because she felt it through her empath powers that she now has. So the next episode on my list is Little Monsters. In this episode, the girls kill a mother demon and find out that it has a human-like baby, and they bring it home and decide what they're going to do with it. Piper gets kidnapped by the father of the baby, which is this mysterious beast type thing that we don't know exactly what it is yet. We find out that the baby's father is actually human, so he decides to take his son and raise him. And one of the things I like about this episode is the nature versus nurture thing. And that basically is, do you grow up one way because of the way you're raised, or are you always going to be that way because of who your parents are? And that's what I really like about this episode. The next episode on my list is Crisscross. In this episode, Marisol Nichols plays Chris's love interest from the future, where Wyatt is evil and the Charmed Ones are dead. She comes back to the past to let Chris know that his plan didn't work and Wyatt is still evil. And we find out that Chris is a witch and also a white lighter. But I'm still curious because I don't think their original plan was for Chris to be Piper's son. And this episode still, like, this episode and some of the episodes before this still don't convince me. I need to know, what are your thoughts on this whole storyline with Chris? Please let me know. The next episode we have is Witchstock. I love this episode. I love seeing Penny and her hippie life before being the grandmother of the Charmed Ones, and I really enjoy how she cursed her clothing, so I guess she would travel back to the past whenever she wanted to go back to this time. It was really fun to see that too. We also get a glimpse at Leo in this time. It's really good. The next episode on my list is I Dream of Phoebe. In this episode, they get another genie bottle and some stuff happens. Phoebe eventually becomes the genie, which is kind of hilarious. And then Chris uses that to his advantage, kind of. He needs to be conceived, and one of his wishes are for Piper and Leo to sleep together, and they just take a nap together. It's kind of cute. I love this episode. It's really fun. The next episode on my list is The Courtship of Wyatt's Father. In this episode, Piper and Leo are transported to this reality where they don't know how they got there, but while they're there, Leo gets injured and they have to go to the house, and Piper tries to heal him up, but things happen because we also find at the end of the episode that Chris gets to stay because he was slowly fading away because he hasn't been conceived yet. And so we find out in this episode that he's been conceived and that Piper is pregnant. Which is kind of funny because Holly was pregnant in real life. So if you watch this episode and some other episodes before this, you do see her hiding her bump like she is right here with this birthday bag. The next episode on my list is Hyde at School Reunion. In this episode, it is Phoebe's high school reunion, and she decides to go. She goes, she has a good time. She sees people that she was friends with in school. She also has these mean girls that start making fun of her, and things happen. I also like that Chris has a side plot of where he's being haunted by this demon that's trying to kill him. Phoebe also has this friend that's in prison that they go visit, and while they're there, he gets her to break him out of prison, and stuff happens. It's kind of sad what happens in the end, but it's also a little karmic because he was a bad person and he deserved what kind of happened to him. The last episode on this list is called Crimes and Witch Demeanors. In this episode, the cleaners implicate Daryl in a murder after Phoebe and Paige accidentally expose their magic to the world. The future of their status as charmed ones lies in the balance. This episode is good on so many different levels. It's hard for me to tell you each reason why I like it. I love the fact that we get little clips from previous episodes in this episode, but I also love the fact that we get Barbas back. Like, Barbas is my favorite villain of all time on the show. Favorite. And I'm glad that they found a way to bring him back like in every single season. And it's so sad to know that the actor who portrays him is gone now. I also love how it shows that their actions have consequences on one of their really close allies, and that was a really hard thing to see Daryl go through that when it was really, their issues. It's so hard to narrow down my favorite episodes each season because they change for different reasons, and I just love the show so much, and I want to know what your guys' favorite episodes of season 6 are. Let me know in the comments.